Esto es 4 di pango. ¿Con brinquito o sin brinquito? Delantero lleva el 9 bien marcado en esa espalda. Su talento en la cancha siempre lo respalda. Na, 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 na. Escucha, esto es el puro chocolate. Delantero lleva el 9 bien marcado en esa espalda. Su talento en la cancha, al siempre lo respalda. Se bota el balón, siempre va conducido. El portero queda sorprendido. Va bien decidido, tira cañonazo y golazo de este Alan Pulido. Delantero lleva el 9 bien marcado en esa espalda. Su talento en la cancha, al siempre lo respalda. Se bota el balón, siempre va conducido. El portero queda sorprendido. Va bien decidido, tira cañonazo y golazo de este Alan Pulido. Ser futbolista siempre.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Cantina MX podcast. You're enjoying that nice intro music from Alan Pulido and his homies. This is Albert Campa on a Thursday night. Thanks for listening, and joined here in the meantime with Joel. Joel, how's it going?
Greetings, chickies. Enjoying the fully rap. And now, is that going to be a whole album, or is that just a one song thing?
Hopefully a one song thing, I would think.
Hopefully, I would mean hopefully,
Well, he's a YouTuber, right? This guy, he's a YouTuber, so he might.
I don't know who that guy is. It looks related to Pulido.
There might be some more stuff coming out.
Yeah, but for those of you listening, there is a video to this.
Yeah, I'm showing the video on the stream, actually.
It's Pulido's Ferrari, and then the guy rapping, he's in full Chivas gear, and then Pulido in the back showing his ball skills. So he's just bouncing it on his knee. This is the second time I've seen someone singing wearing the Chivas shirt. The first time, well, it was Chivas USA, but it was Morrissey. I went to a concert here in Los Angeles, and his whole band came out wearing the Chivas USA uniform.
Oh. Yeah, so that's
yes, Puli.
So that was the latest news for today. Pulido rap
The
song.
farandula.
Yeah,
the latest in the farandula. Now that the scored stuff has died down, Chiquis, do you think they paid him off, or do you think there just wasn't any more evidence? And of course, we're referring to the pictures of the lovely ladies that were in the party with Layun and Chichagolazo.
Yeah.
Doing what he did yesterday.
That's yeah, I don't know what happened. I sort of want to believe the players, but they were supposed to come out with some new stuff, and I guess they never did. I don't know. I didn't follow those accounts, man.
Yeah, with las botineras.
Yeah,
and they said they claim to have more pictures and videos, incriminating evidence. And then some of the news going around was that they had sold it to a magazine, and that the magazine was going to do an article, and then it disappeared like a fart in the wind. Stunk up a bit. So yeah, and went away, man. But I got some sad news, Chiquis. It's a beloved persona of Liga MX has passed away. And I'm talking about Max Camote. He was the Puebla mascot. He's no more. They got rid of him, Chiquis. And Max Camote had replaced Super Camote. So those guys are gone, man. The Camote brothers. But it sounds kind of stupid, you know. They introduced a new mascot. They're gonna let the fans name him. If you haven't seen a picture, he sort of looks like the Mexican Captain Crunch. I think they're going for a general from the Batalla de Puebla when they beat the French army. But this is the thing about it seems kind of dumb, but the thing about Puebla is that the club is like divided. So it's like they have like new owners, but it was like the family that used to own the old club. They seem to have a stake in it. So I don't know if you remember, Chiquis. Was it about a year or two ago that Puebla changed their logo? Their badge was the traditional looking badge. Now they have a round one, more modern looking. Do you recall?
I don't recall that.
No, Chiquis, you have one job here. Uh,
The
okay,
one they have
so
now seems to be like the one that I always remember, but I might be wrong.
no. The one they have now, it looks like Celaya, like the old Celaya badge. But the original badge, it looked like a sort of like a police badge, and it had a franja, and it said Puebla FC. It looked like the escudo, and it had two stars. Their new badge is a circle.
Oh,
It's a
well, they
circle, and,
still have the old one
and it
though.
has
Like the
it
new
has
mas.
5 stars.
Well, the new mascot has
Hmm?
the same thing.
The circle one,
No, it has
you should have the
the
circle
old one.
badge.
It has the old one.
Have you seen the new? Are you looking at the
Yeah, I'm
new
looking at it right
mascot?
now.
I
It's
don't
on the
know,
chat.
Chiquis.
It's on the stream. I have the two of them side
Yeah,
by side. I have the mascota. What's it called? Max Camote.
yeah,
And then that's the old one, right? The new one is like bearded dude.
yeah. The Mexican Captain Crunch.
Yeah, Mexican Captain Crunch has the old bat. Well, at least in this picture he does. He has the old escudo.
I don't know, Chiquis. I don't. Where did you find this? Um.
Can you bring up the
Okay, but
YouTube,
but
the stream or whatever? I don't know if you can, but that's where it's on a millennial website. Y Max Camote, nueva mascota de Puebla, genera polémica en
no.
redes sociales.
Yeah, but Max Camote is the guy that's gone.
Yeah, they have both of them side by side. Anyway, but yeah, what you were saying, that's sort of, I'm just distracting from your point.
With the thing to see is that there's two of the old one, and that you could see because because okay, so the original batch is Puebla FC, but then they have one that just says Puebla. FC is gone.
Uh, yes.
Does the does the does the one that the mascot is wearing, does it say FC?
Actually, no, it just says Puebla.
Yeah, see,
It looks like
so
the old
that's
one,
that.
but it just says Puebla.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, Chiquis. I found it. They remade it. I guess people must have not liked the circle one. But see, this is the thing about the circle one, Chiquis. If you see the name, it says Club Puebla, 1944.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's one thing that Mexican teams do, and fans sort of like, I guess, don't pay that much attention. And then it doesn't matter because we're still calling them the same thing. It's still Puebla.
Hmm.
But these names is due to legal reasons. So it's not just that they decided to rebrand. It's just legal issues that there's usually infighting, and it's also trying to wrestle control. And so similar happened with Chivas when Vergara took over, and but the name was slightly like it was SA de CB, and uh, and I can't remember the I can't in one was uh, Club Social, and then the other one is and then they redid it to um goddamn, what was the other one?
Club Puebla.
So SA de CB, and then there's the Oh man, we're terrible at this. ACE, Asociación Civil. So
Yeah.
the original one, because it was a club, like with people actually own stocks in or stakes in it. Yeah, the original Chivas, it was Club Deportivo Guadalajara, SADCB. And then when Vergara took over, it it changed from AC to SA. Uh, but they tried for a while where it was just gonna be Chivas. They tried it, but there was a lot of backlash. They
Okay.
they kind of went back. But see, so you're saying what does this matter, Chiquis?
Yeah. Why do
What
I
does
care?
this have to do with
Explain.
anything?
Explain it to me.
Yeah, why should we care? No, it highlights some of the just how poorly managed a lot of times a lot of the teams in Mexico are, and it's because it's very expensive to own a club, you know, and some of these clubs they're owned by families as opposed to big companies. So Chivas used to be owned by by the socios, and socios weren't just the regular cats. It was the old families in Guadalajara, the old money, So you own a stock in the club, and you could go to El Country, which was the country club, play tennis. You had your palco, you had your preferred seating and VIP parking, So that's what it was with and same with Atlas and some of these teams. But as we've seen, a bunch of companies came in and then they took over a lot of the clubs. So that's how you kind of have the two Monterrey teams going up because you had FEMSA and you have CEMEX, which are huge companies. And but for the smaller teams like the Pueblas, the Morelias, even like Tolucas, and you see how much they're struggling. So this is going on with Puebla where this type of like in in in-house fighting keeps them from from improving, from even being able to invest more money, which it seemed like they were doing with the Estadio Cuauhtemoc, how it was remodeled and modernized. But then you have all this going on, and it could take years, man. It could take it could take a lot of years just to settle these things, which is happening to an extent at Cruz Azul, which is why we saw Victor Garces and the whole Pelaez incident. And that's very similar because even Cruz Azul Chiquis, they even changed their name for a while. They weren't able to use their original name,
Mm.
full name, I should say, their original full name in their badge. So, and then the the same guy Garces in an interview he was saying how they went back, they sort of fixed.
I lost your audio. Joel.
You lost my
Oh,
audio
there
at
you.
what point?
You're back. You're back. They sort of went
What was
back.
the last thing you heard,
They sort of went
Chiquis?
back. You're talking about Garces.
Yeah, because they were also in Asociación Civil.
Yeah.
They were ACE Cruz Azul. And then they changed to, I think it was just Deportivo Cruz Azul, you know?
Yeah.
And so these are like,
¿Y la Cruz Azuleó?
those are slick ways um, of, of, you know, of doing these modifications. And as fans, a lot of times we don't pay much attention to that. But it's sort of like, it's a constant, like when we see how many clubs are being affected by this. So we saw similar with Lobos Buap, where they had that was ultimately why they ended up selling the franchise. Juarez, was a lot of the infighting, and they just couldn't afford it anymore. So they ended up selling the franchise. And that was the second Puebla team. It was Buap. Um, and so this again, why do we care? Well, uh, we just had the league's cup final played yesterday. Uh, John Jaku was there. Hopefully he joins us soon to
He's on.
talk about.
I just got on actually. I was
Oh, I don't know
trying
if
to
you
get a.
you've been listening to my little rant here.
No, I just got. I was trying to get up. I was trying to get a lovely frosty beverage
Oh, nice,
from my refrigerator. I was
John.
enjoying a. Yeah,
I
yes, sir.
will I will recap for you really quick. So, because I saw the news not too long ago about Puebla getting rid of Max Camote.
Can I? That is frankly now. Joel, did any of your rant include?
Que ching
Oh no,
chingwe su madre el America.
It did not. Okay, I'm
no,
just
no.
checking. I'm just checking. Okay.
And so I'm saying how well why does it matter? And a big reason is because Puebla is sort of divided. There's like new ownership and old ownership, and they had even changed the name from Puebla FC to I think it's just Puebla now, because they were God damn, I so many changes I keep forgetting. Um,
Well, a couple of years ago, they even changed their logo. It was like all fancy with with
yeah, they rechanged it again.
angels, and they went back to like to their clip art.
Yeah, but see, and if you look at the new one, it doesn't say FC anymore.
Right. So it's just
So
Puebla.
yeah,
That logo, it's not even clip art. It's like first generation Macintosh. That Puebla logo.
yeah, no, they just rechanged it. So they went from Puebla FC to Club Puebla. And now they're back to just Puebla. It was just Puebla. So I was talking about all this infighting, and how a lot of times, we don't realize it, but it's like when they're changing the logo or they're using a different name, it's because they're having problems. And so Cruz
Right.
Azul recently was having a similar problem, and they even altered their name. And I think they went back to the original one. So I'm saying how all this infighting keeps a lot of these clubs from progressing, or just investing more. So I was saying this is ultimately why something like the League's Cup is going to end up becoming that much more important, because you have like the Cinco Grandes in Mexico. MLS is going to have their Cinco Grandes too. You're already seeing
Right.
it with how much money some of these teams are investing. To look at Atlanta and the huge stadium they have, and the type of players they're bringing in, Galaxy as well, the type of how much money they're spending on bringing in players, LAFC. So we're bound to see about 4 or 5 big teams from MLS. So when you have a Leagues Cup, ultimately that's going to turn into like Diez Grandes type of, like, just overall more competitive, because a team like Atlanta is going to be able to build more strong team than a Puebla that can't even get their mascot straight, you know, or uh, or a
Wh- Where
Veracruz,
where do you stand on the Max Camote scandal?
and Max Camote.
Yeah. So what would be worse? Would it be worse to lose Max Camote or Tibu?
Well, Max Camote replaced Super Camote. I would have them both. I would
Mm.
bring them both back.
You do not discriminate when it comes to Camote. You're gonna have Max or Super. Either way is okay for
Yeah,
you.
either way you could. Yeah, maximum
Yeah.
pleasure Camote. We have all
But
the.
if they did they tried to replace Tibu the Hood, would you feel
I
would you feel like something's happening to your league if Tibu's trying to get replaced?
It depends. Did you see the wolf that? Now was that even real? Uh, they had this wolf, but it looked like
That was
the type of
Cholos.
wolf you see from. Was that Cholos? No,
Was
no,
that?
it was a wolf.
I know, but it was Cholos for some reason, wasn't it?
No, no, Cholos is the dog, but they had a werewolf.
I thought that was a.
There was this scary looking werewolf. And if you're a little
Well,
kid, you're gonna have nightmares if you saw that
a couple of years
mascot.
ago, Deepu dressed up like the clown from was it Pennywise from It?
Oh man.
He's scared. He looked pretty dark scared. If you look it up on the on the Google Images, it's a pretty scary picture of
Yeah, I
Deepu.
can't imagine being a little kid and
Oh no, it's
they
Lobos
take
Were you
you
Buap.
scared?
to
Were
the.
you?
That was Lobos Buap.
There
Yeah.
you go. Those Buap had. I don't know if that was a one-time thing for Halloween though.
That thing was
Well, geez, they
ugly.
had that stupid werewolf call like every 5 minutes in their stadium, and there was no one there, so all you heard was the "ow."
But John, you were
Yes,
at
I
the
was. I
League's
was. I was in
Cup
Las
final.
Vegas. My trip was cut short, unfortunately. I was
Oh,
hoping to bring the trash talking Juanita along, but apparently she trash talked too much and
one
was
too many.
down for the count yesterday morning when we were getting ready to leave. So I was made it. In fact, I'm not even sure how I'm awake, but made it back after some traveling this morning instead of taking our leisurely day in Vegas like we were hoping to do today. But it was well, first of all, and this is like a little. Usually when we go to these things, CantinaMX isn't shocking. I know to most folks, not necessarily the most prestigious of brands that cover these events. So we usually kind of get stuck on on the of the of just next to the vacant seats in the press boxes usually where CantinaMX goes. It's like just on the outer edges of. But for this one, we were like right smack in. I mean, like I was right on the midfield stripe. There were 54 seats, and I was in seat 29, so I was like one off the middle. So that was interesting. There was a lot of national interest from folks who cover MLS. From Mexico, not so much. There were some stringers there, but like you didn't see like, for instance, you didn't see the same crowd that would come and cover a national team. So I found that interesting. And then reading today, like all of the Mexico, like this is the torneo inventado and blah blah, which I is fine, but I kind of agree with you, Joel. I think that I would I would mock this tournament at your peril. I think the League's Cup. I think it's going to end up becoming really massive, especially if they can, as you pointed out, if they can get one of the grandes of MLS to play one of the grandes of Liga MX in a final.
It would be
So I think that
well, what is the phrase again? You mock. You would mock this tournament at your peril.
mock it at your peril.
Well, like say there's a morlero like Tuca used to call likes to call them between Mexico and Argentina and San Antonio. Um, I mean that you could say the same thing to that. You shouldn't dare mock a Mexico versus Argentina game in San Antonio. That's the equivalent that I see of the League's Cup, like an America versus Atlanta in League's Cup final is pretty much the equivalent
Yeah,
of
but
that.
the difference is that there's like prize money involved.
Yeah, and that's my like Joel sort of gave a good like a good preview earlier before we went on live, and
Mhm.
I mean I have my
Well,
I
see,
think
that's the whole point, guys. You guys are doing it right. You need to do that preview on the air.
yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. So so
Oh,
my
gotcha.
my
No, it wasn't preview. Wait,
we're
Chiquis,
just we were
wrong
just
use of
talking.
word.
We're just talking.
It wasn't
I
preview.
know, I know, I know.
We
I
were
was,
talking about subjects, what to
Yeah,
talk
subjects.
about.
yeah. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, so like so yeah, that's I mean I don't discredit it, but I don't praise it as something huge. And I see it as something huge as far as business and money wise. And that's pretty much it. It can be
Well,
huge,
they
it
asked
can
Tuca
be
about
great
it.
as a business.
They asked Tuca about it, and he's actually okay with. And and the funny thing is that when I was, by the way, this is the first time I've ever really been to Vegas and then actually gotten to like go outside of the little touristy bubble there, and Vegas is actually a really nice little town. I was I was surprised and relieved. And the guy that was taking me, my Uber driver to the stadium was from Ghana, and I was telling what I was doing. He didn't know about one. He didn't know about the game, but when he found out about the game, oh, that sounds really interesting. And then when he found out about the cup, he said, man, that's actually he thought it was a really. He said it's a good way to get soccer fans, but they have to do a good job of publicizing it. Because I mean, it was in Vegas. He had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was very interesting. But Duca actually did have something to say about the. Let me see if I can dig it up. He did say this at the end, which I think is just hilarious, and it'll definitely be a part of our show.
Pues gracias. Thank you. Good night.
God love Duca.
Ya no
I'll get this soundbite here in a second. Oop, there we have to turn that down. But I mean, I do think that it's every torneo when it started out as a torneo inventado. And I do think that eventually, I think Leagues Cup, because of the fact that Mexico and the U.S. both don't necessarily have the level of competition other than themselves, to me it makes as much sense. It makes all the sense in the world to play themselves as much as possible. And that's why I think that this tournament could be good. And I think that this is a great way to, as Joel pointed out, if you can get your big teams playing the big teams, then it's going to be a really good tournament. But that has to happen, and we'll see if that. We'll see if they can get to that. But I do think it can happen.
Well, I'm always entertained watching Liga MX against MLS for the reasons of Mexico versus the U.S. Or Liga MX versus that's what I said. That's like my main. It's the rivalry between the U.S. and Mexico, and then there's intensity. There's trash talk sometimes. But it gets tired when Mexico keeps on winning.
I know. I think that's at that point right now, but I do think it will change eventually. We're still like, this is still fairly new. It's fairly young.
Well, let's be honest. For the Leagues Cup to be the success that they want it to become, MLS has to be better. They have to. They have no choice. It's on them.
For Leagues Cup to be better, to be a success. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if well, I don't necessarily think that the CCL is sort of like a failure. I mean, it's pretty entertaining every time it comes around. People tune in and watch Mexican clubs beat MLS, which happens the whole
right. But that's what's great about the Leagues Cup is you get to see that in the summer and fall, and you get to see it again in the winter and spring.
Yeah. So that's
so you have all 4 seasons covered.
Yeah, and that's great. It's good cash flow. Hopefully the Mexican clubs can use that cash and develop for facilities, for youth development, getting the most out of the youth that are in Mexico so that their players can become better and they won't rely so much on foreigners, on South Americans to make the club competitive and high quality. I guess I'll go into my my negative views on the Leagues Cup being that Mexico always beats MLS. So I'd rather see them compete just like we want our Mexican players to go out to Europe and compete against the best in Europe. I would like to see the clubs compete against the better clubs and not MLS, or not wait for them to get better, or not help them so that they can get better and then they can help us improve. Sort of like we're pushing them along so that they can help us be better. Where we have South America, we have Libertadores there, and
yeah, but Mexico makes too much money. Why would they want to leave that?
they make some.
Ultimately, I think what's going to happen with the Leagues Cup, Chiquis, is that I think that you'll see the South American teams want to participate in it.
You beat me to it, John. It's like we were.
Okay, so that would be
the
great.
exact same thing.
Like
It's
what?
it's
When
yeah.
you know, black and white, it would just capture the moment so nicely. Oh,
Oh
So
man.
that would be good. I was thinking of this earlier. Like you get rid of CCL. Like why do you need CCL when we have this and it's going to be throughout the year, like you said? Get rid of CCL.
Because that's what I said. You have in this half of the season you have Leagues Cup, and the second half of the season you have CCL. Why do you think MLS and Liga MX didn't want to play CCL in the first? Because they knew that this thing was going to be coming online a few years down the road.
Oh, so the CCL is going to still be around?
Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. See, whether it works for Mexico and MLS teams is that they're through to the knockouts, and the knockouts don't start till February.
Okay. Well, I think the sooner
Now
the
the
South
part,
Americans can get involved, the better.
Well, Chiquis, it's only a handful.
It's all
Not
teams. They want to move it to
every
all teams.
team in South America is that strong. And even now, a lot of those teams aren't as strong as they used to be. Not even like the River Plates or the Bocas. They're nowhere near what they were just because how much um, they've been pillaged for talent by Europe, which is another topic I kind of wanted to get into because I keep seeing this whole thing about like there was a post about how in England they're playing more tiki taka style, you know, and it's like the Guardiola type influence
Mm.
and I'm saying, to me it's a kind of fascinating, almost amusing because it's like that style of football has been played in South America and Latin America since the ball started rolling. And I think we're seeing it more in Europe now because obviously they're filled with South American talent, so that it's sort of obvious progression. You have all these players from Latin America, uh, obviously the teams are going to start playing, just adapting or figuring out ways to use some of these players better. Because they used to be criticized. I remember the Brasileños that they weren't good at defending because they would attack too much. I don't know if you remember that criticism, Yon. Uh,
oh yes, very much so.
they were better at attacking than defending.
They would
You
always
know,
fall asleep defensively, just make just you know Nestor Araujo like errors in the biggest games for yeah, it would just cost them dearly. Just yeah, it was I mean and stupid correctable stuff. That's just it was just unfortunate.
yeah, but and before I go off topic, so so that's hurt a lot of the South American leagues where their teams aren't as strong. Chiquis, I don't know if you remember, but South American teams when they played the Intercontinental, they used to go toe to toe against the European teams. And the big difference was that South American teams were mostly local talent, while a lot of the times the European teams they'll have four or five big players from all over the place.
Well,
Just
prove it,
goes to
man.
show, the how strong these teams were, and that's just not the case anymore. A lot
Well,
of these teams they're not that strong. I guarantee you, if Liga MX was had they had not left Libertadores, they probably would have won one by now. Tigres, I think, shit the bed. Pardon my French, for lack of a better word, but and I had friends from River, and they were like they were not expecting to beat Tigres. They even saw that. That was the first for me, where it's like that confidence was gone. Uh, but had the teams not left, I do think we would have had one if they would have taken it serious.
well, let's
If
prove it.
if the Liga MX teams would have
That's
taken it serious, because that wasn't the case all the time. But yeah, they could have because they're putting together pretty strong teams.
well, yeah.
I'm
That's what
not
I'm saying.
saying
We should prove it then.
you're saying,
Like if that's the case, then prove it. Let Mexico go in there and win Libertadores like 2 or 3 times, and then okay, that's good. We did that.
but prove
But
it for who? Like, why do
I
you
don't. I
need
mean,
to
that's you
prove it?
stating
You're
that.
not gonna
That's
get
you stating that. I don't think
me
South
stating what?
that the South American teams are weaker. I don't think that they would say that. I don't
They
think that they
compared
are they
to
trembling in
what
their
they
boots.
were.
If
They
Mexico
No,
are
comes back,
one absolutely they're weaker than what I mean. Like even 10 years ago,
are they trembling in their
they're
boots
much
though?
weaker.
If Mexico comes back into the thing, they're not going to be all afraid. The Boca, the river, they're not going to be.
no, they're not gonna be afraid. But that the fact that they're weaker means it's easier now.
Well, let's see it happen because we already know what happens against MLS. So let's see it happen against South America. That's what I'm saying. If you want your players to improve, if you want your league to be more high quality, then you got to play against higher quality, not against lower quality. If you want to make money
Yeah,
again,
but
play
see
against
that
lower quality, then yeah, by all
again.
means.
But again, Chiquis, you're not. What I'm telling you is, not every team is higher quality.
Well,
You
we
play
got to see
teams,
that
and
though.
with all due
We got to
respect,
see that.
teams from Venezuela, teams from Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru. Those teams aren't like that. You're gonna say you're gonna get good because you played Cienciano. And I'm not trying to disparage those leagues, but they're no different than MLS.
Well,
But
we got to see that
it's
though.
a
I
difference
don't know if
between MLS teams have a higher ceiling, man.
I don't know if I buy that though, man. I can't buy that.
You don't buy
I got
what
to see stats. I got to see facts. I got to see head-to-head matchups and results. That's what's going to
Well, I
prove to
mean
me.
the well, okay, well, I personally would love to see Mexico play South American teams, but I think that in their current situation they have with the confederations, that the only way that that's going to happen, it's not going to be in any official tournaments. It's going to be in a tournament like this.
Well, Bonilla said in Tom's article, there was a section on it where he said that it affects Liguilla. Libertadores affects Liguilla, I think, uh, on both Liguillas in the year. So it sounded like the only way to fix that would be a long tournament for Liga MX. Or to shift around Liguilla, which would probably not be ideal because you'd either have a break between the regular season and
Yeah,
Liguilla or something. So
because MLS has their postseason and they have a Fecha FIFA right in the middle of it, and it's like it just like it disappears for 2 weeks. It's
well,
bizarre.
Libertadores, like CONMEBOL, they changed their Libertadores schedule, which screwed up Mexico. That's why Mexico sort of left or got ousted, per that article. And
Nah,
it,
that
Right.
was an
No, that's exactly.
excuse.
Yeah.
so like if I would bend Liga MX to the will of Libertadores. I mean, I don't know the whole background of Bonilla and what his thoughts are, but I would bend the schedule, and I don't even mind going to a long tournament to as long as we get into Libertadores and then maybe win a few, then okay, we've done that. We're done with you guys, South Americans. We're gonna go mess with MLS or whatever. That would be my ideal thing because and I know John, you've mentioned it before. The Liga MX isn't there to strengthen the national team or anything like that. But I want to see Mexican players, Mexican youth, play in the the best quality league they can in Mexico against quality opponents throughout the continent, and then eventually go to Europe, become huge stars in the biggest leagues there, and that doesn't even I don't even care about the national team. That's totally apart. As long as the Mexican player, the Mexican itself, gets to the highest quality they can get. The next Hugo
Yeah, I
Sanchez,
mean,
we need that.
there's no argument from there. I mean, it's and whether they get there from Liga MX or from MLS or from whatever other league
Yeah,
they can, so be it.
but maybe they
So
can bank a ton of money with MLS because I'm sure like there's going to be crowds going to these games. Like the video we saw put of the guy, the Cruz Azul fan crying in the stands, cheering for his team. There's a lot of those guys in the United States that don't
I
get to
gotta
see
tell
that.
you, I was
You were crying too, John?
I was not crying. I was not crying, but there was that crowd was definitely 80-20 Cruz Azul last night, and this is in Las Vegas, and they came from, I mean, from the anywhere within a 6 hour radius, they, they were there. Had a delicious hot dog on the way out though. What you would have proud of me.
Oh man. Wait,
Yeah.
what was the food provided at the for the journos? Was it any good?
It was as good a spread as I have seen in quite a while, but I had had a calzone when I landed at my hotel, so I was full, so I didn't really get to enjoy it. And also, we always talk about reading the room. I had to read the room last night, and yesterday was not the time to take the picture of the spread because
Oh,
there was a lot of very important people were in the press box last night, aside from journalists. So you don't want to be that guy. So I had like the guy next to me, hey, go take a picture of the food. No, it was they had like I had a Caesar salad and it was good. And meatloaf. They had a cannoli for dessert. It was no, it was definitely a very nice. It was definitely a very nice spread. It was a little better than what we had at the Alamo. No, it was good. It was they're obviously going all out. I felt really bad, guys, for they had the showgirls at the beginning with the trophy, and it was very windy last night. And their headdresses, that's like it goes like 6 feet up in the air. It was they were having a hard time staying put. The showgirls. So hopefully they were very happy to get off the field last night after the because they could have flown away. But no, the Cruz Azul fans they came. I saw folks from L.A., from Northern California, from Arizona. They came from all over. They were there to support. So I mean, that is there's a reason why the Cruz Azul is in the Cuatro Grandes. They are a very popular team. And
did you just call Tigres an equipo chico?
I'm not saying that Tigres is an equipo chico, but I don't think that. I mean, I think that recently
Yeah,
but I mean they've. I mean, we're talking
yeah,
decades of
yeah, yeah. Over like what 40 years
well,
compared to what 10 of Tigres.
right. And one thing I think that Cruz Azul has that no other team has as a reason is to help them attain their status as one of the big teams in Mexico is that they started getting good and playing really well and winning a bunch of titles just as color TV was happening. And I think that's one of the big reasons why Cruz Azul is because is a they're almost like mythological in Mexican, and I think it's because of that group in the early to mid '70s that won what was like 7 or 8 titles in a decade, whatever it was.
You could tell there.
That's
You could tell
I
it
think
was
it's
blue.
because of the fact that they yeah, well, that and then just they were the best team and they had I mean it's the first time people are watching soccer in color, and I think it's kind of the same thing with the Cowboys. The Cowboys kind of and the NFL started getting good just as color TV was happening, and so I think that it kind of it helps the imagination with folks.
Let me ask you this. One thing I was trying to watch through the TV was their emotion after the whistle blew, and I see it seemed the players seemed a little toned down. Um, the Cruz Azul players, usually they'll be jumping around and stuff. In other, I guess, higher
Uh,
class tournaments, and this didn't seem they didn't seem too excited.
I think that they both because they're both professionals. I think that that there was a certain point where they're like, we want to try and win this. And I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was. I gotta tell you, as far as intensity, it was 10 times more intense than any friendly. There was definitely intensity on the field. The players move. I mean, they know each other better, so it's just going to be a better quality soccer. So the passing was crisper, and the shots are. Uh, they seem a little fiercer, and et cetera. It just seemed like there was just a as far as intensity compared to friendlies, it was definitely ratcheted up. The one player that really impressed me last night more than anybody was Gignac, and oh my, I mean wow, what a great player. I mean he is the very definition of a complete forward. He does everything, everything. It was he was impressive to watch, and he never stops not trying to be available for his teammates wherever they are on the field. And he does this really sneaky thing where when he goes out wide, he kind of plays, just kind of sits in the back and then waits for the ball to go wide on the other side, and then he just full on sprints into the box and hoping he catches people unmarked. It's He was impressive. He was definitely that was something that I was looking forward to watching play, and I'm glad I got to see him because it was he was always trying stuff. He didn't have any like good quote unquote chances on goal, but I mean you could tell that he's just a terrific player. It was I came away very impressed with how he played, even though he didn't score. But to answer your question, Chiquis, I think that was the intensity the same of say a Liga MX final? Absolutely not. But I mean, there was definitely some pride on the line, and when Cruz Azul scored the second goal and got the game winner, I mean, the crowd went bananas, and the players went bananas. It was a big goal for them, and it was a big goal for the fans. It was quite the little party. I was very happy for the Cruz Azul fans that they got to see them win and lift the cup because frankly they just don't get to do it very often and haven't, despite their unbelievable history of winning trophies. They just over the past what is it 15 20 years just haven't won as many. So the fans got a little taste of that. They were uh, they were quite happy. And Tuca was very very calm in the press conference too. I was wondering if he was going to yell at anybody, but he gets to have the ladies ask the first question in Spanish, and they had, one lady says like he's like what went wrong. I was thinking, man, if you were a dude, would Tuca answer your question as politely as he did? It made me curious. But it was a good it's a good first step, and I do think that in the immediate future of this tournament, if they can get storylines like Carlos Vela de LAFC go and play his his the team where he grew up, Chivas, that would be a good story, or Zlatan with LA Galaxy, going to adding one more conquest to his career. Can he win at the Azteca? Stuff like that could really make this tournament
Yeah, and
a
I
lot of
think
fun.
we'll see it, John. I think we'll see it. Eventually, they just have to keep playing it. I think that's the and I think they figured it out because this is what the third, maybe the third attempt because
Right.
we've
They had the
we've
Superliga for a while, and I don't know if they did anything before that.
yeah, and they've had like friendlies and whatnot, but yeah, this is like the second or third attempt. But I think that they figured it that they're getting close there. They're close now because and I was telling Chiquis if you're like an America fan, even Chivas or Cruz, whatever, Pumas, Cruzul, any of those teams, uh, can you really say you're going to be more excited to see your team face a Veracruz or a or a not Jaguar, I was going to say Jaguar,
Or it's
Juarez,
Camote.
a Juarez, than to see like an LAFC with Vela or even like as you said, Zlatan with Galaxy, and they have Jonah and Antunes, you know, and teams like that, and Atlanta, which we mentioned before. I think ultimately those are going
I
to make
mean,
for better matchups.
with Miami FC coming into the league, that they're going to have a couple of hot shots because Miami is the capital of soccer for European and South American players. That's where they go spend their off seasons.
Yeah, and they have golden balls. David Beckham, and
And
he's
he wants to
trying
bring Lionel Messi.
he's trying. Yeah, Messi. One of the rumors I heard is that he wants to bring Messi and Ronaldo.
Now, why would he bother? Why would he bother bringing when he has La Trophy sitting
The tro-
right there, right there?
right? Yeah, no, but I do think he's gonna end up bringing in at least one or two really good players. They might be in the twilight, but at least to the extent of what like Zlatan was able to do. Because I do think that players coming now are taking it a bit more serious. As you see with Zlatan, he didn't just come in here to cash his check. The number of goals he's scoring is impressive. Not only that, but the quality of goals he's scoring. And you have, who's that English guy? He said Washington.
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney. So you have players coming in and they're beginning to take it more serious. They figured it out. Who was it that was it? the guy from Chelsea that played. Um,
Frank Lampard.
I think it was Lampard, and he was talking about how it was more difficult than he expected. He talked about how, when they travel, the different in climate and whatnot, and how just made it way. It's not like what you expect.
Yeah, well, he has to fly. He has to fly commercial. That's probably something that he wasn't expecting. I'm
No,
sure they
yeah.
used to flying their lovely charter jets on Turkish Airlines.
Well, we'll see
Yeah,
if
so
that.
there's a lot of news. Huh?
I was
Chicky?
just gonna say, we'll see if that
Huh?
gives if Cruz Azul gets a little bit of a boost from that
Oh, I'm glad you
from
brought that up because
that
Siboldi.
championship because I see them getting spanked in Seoul on Sunday.
Oh, snap. Snap. Well, I do think it benefits the team
Sorry, Joel.
because as we've seen, Mexican teams do struggle when they play twice a week. They're midweek and then during the week they usually don't do too well. But Siboldi, man, I'm still singing his praises. What he did at Santos should not be forgotten. I'm surprised how quick my fellow Liga MX fans, you know, dismissed Siboldi. I mean, and he went to Veracruz, which was a difficult task, but it's hard to motivate players when they're not getting paid.
Yeah, usually that only happens at Atlas.
So, I mean, he went there and it's just a giant mess. Had it not been, I do think he would have done a better job. But now he's at a team like Cruz Azul, and
So
he's
so is
already
is Pelaez there or not at Cruz Azul? Has he
he's
left or not?
he's he's there because well, he's there and he's not. So he left on vacation. He's like, all right, f this, I'm out. He left, but he hasn't signed the dotted line. He's still tied to the team, as in he hasn't signed his resignation papers. I think.
You, 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 you're cool, and I'm out.
Yeah,
Like that, Joel? Yeah.
yeah, but I do think it just comes down to like what they say at finiquitar. Uh, I don't know. I guess they're just gonna come to an agreement. I don't know if he gets something or he gets nothing. There's a slight chance he might stay. If Billy
Have the
wants it to. He did.
has the wooing started at Chivas yet?
Yeah, it has. It has. But he did say it on air that if Billy asked him to stay, he would stay. So I guess the ball is in Billy's court. And
Right. Well, he's a man. That's you. I don't think anybody who has followed Ricardo Pelaez's career would be surprised with that comment. He is he's above all else. He's a professional, and if he's tasked to do a job, then he'll do that job until they tell him don't do that job.
yeah,
So
I mean, if I was Pelaez, I would stay until the season ended. But to each their own. Uh, but then there is the rumor now, as I heard from the lavaderas,
uh-oh.
is that there are those from the OmniLife brass, the OmniLife Chivas, and they want to jump on it, man. They want to jump on Pelaez, and they're ready to make him an offer.
Did he ever wear
Yes, sir.
the
Yes,
red
he
and white?
did.
There toward the
Yes, he
end, he did.
did. He came in after the '98 World Cup, and it was him and Luis Garcia, which was felt weird. I guess that's why now seeing Oribe doesn't fade me.
Right.
I was like, where were you when we brought the two America icons to
The two
play
America forwards. Yeah.
one after the other? Huh? But no, at the same time, actually.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but he was
So
he was a gentleman because he was injured and he's like, I'm not gonna be here cashing a check when I can't play. and he removed himself.
Did do you think that the Chivas front office has found out which of the local torta ahogadas, Peláez slices, and they've been air shipping them to him daily to remind
And
him this could be your lunch every day right here.
if they were smart, I think they would do that. They would figure a way to woo him. But I
Can
don't
you get a
know.
good torta ahogada in Los Angeles?
I don't know, man. I just know that Chivas better be doing something because Amaury, he's pretty green at this, you know, and the team's gonna be getting in a good chunk of change pretty soon. They're gonna be negotiating contract not only in the U.S. but in Mexico. I've estimated it at somewhere between 200 and 220 million. Now, of
For
course,
TV?
in TV money for both U.S. and Mex,
Sure.
and because their contracts end in December, and they're gonna open
So that's why
negotiations.
they haven't been on TV. So that's they want to open negotiate. So that's why they probably want to be on YouTube for this season.
Well, and it's like you said, John. Their YouTube is being handled by, said NBC Universal.
Right.
They're making sure they don't have the Chiva TV problem, and so they might be in the running for next year, because Chivas wants to have both English and Spanish TV broadcasts. Uh, so who knows, man? And they probably Televisa. You know how they have those hidden clauses.
Oh yeah, the ones that magically materialize.
They've gotten Chivas too many times. So I think Chivas is like, you know what? We're just gonna wait till this ends to make sure that there's nothing left. That this contract is done, and then we could start a fresh one. And I think that's what's gonna happen ultimately. That they're just gonna, they just took the knee, John. They're gonna let the clock run out.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if it's done in December, then they can negotiate with TUDN, which is both Univision and Televisa, or like you said, they can negotiate with or bring Telemundo to the table, who they already have a relationship with through their Chivas TV, and they've been on Telemundo before,
Yeah, and
and
NBC
I'm
has
sure
been,
Telemundo would love to have Chivas back.
well, and NBC because they show EPL, right?
Right?
It's at NBC, and Chivas will draw more. It will draw more than Champions League or
Yeah, because they
EPL.
could put the Spanish on Telemundo and the English one on Universo.
Yeah, yeah, and then little by little, that's how we start. This league cup starts
Yeah,
becoming a thing. If
that's right.
Chivas is bringing the ratings, and then NBC puts the
And then
money,
when La
or
Chofis goes to Atlanta United and
the
it
trophies.
comes back, the chosen one to play Chivas in the quarterfinal. Now, one thing that I think has to happen in the League Cup is there have to be games in Mexico. It's just not uh, sporting to play all the games in the states, and that was one of the things that Tuca stressed. He said two things. He said there have to be games in Mexico, and there has to be a home and away leg. I disagree on the home and away. I think that for a tournament like this, I think it'd be more fun if it was just a single elimination. But I do think that there have to be games in Mexico.
That's gonna affect the bottom line a little bit.
How so?
They're not gonna raise no ticket prices.
Oh, you mean as far as well, I mean, they make all their money back in the semifinals and finals. Don't worry, because of those, I guarantee you will be in the states. But like the first couple of rounds can be wherever, home or away. For
And
either
then you're
team.
gonna have, like, if they do, I think, because they say their end goal is gonna have all teams involved. So when they were talking about
Right.
Major League Baseball comparisons, So
Well, I said, well,
Joel,
in that sense, it was like interleague play where they
yeah,
play
interleague.
league, where they play a game that counts toward points in your own league.
Yeah. So Joel, what do you think about maybe a Minnesota FC against Veracruz? How many how many uh how many people are
No,
gonna
no,
fill?
chiquis, you haven't been paying attention.
How many people are
You're
gonna
talking
fill that?
about the Diez Grandes. You're talking about the Diez Grandes.
No,
So
but
I
I'm not.
do
I'm
think
not though, man.
ultimately we're going to see
I'm
from
not.
the big venues in the U.S., the two LA teams, like Atlanta
Yeah,
I know.
I
and New
understand what you're
York,
saying,
one of those.
Chiquis. How is that any different than Veracruz playing Juarez?
It's not. That's what I'm saying. But like in the U.S. League's Cup match number whatever, Veracruz against.
How is playing
That'll
Minnesota
just be
any
filler, chiquis.
how
That's
is
what I'm
That'll
playing
be
saying.
Veracruz
filler.
any
Okay,
different
you
than
gotta
playing
get
Nashville?
some filler.
Look,
Yeah.
you see it in Champions League. Don't tell me every Champions League game is a high profile match.
I'm not.
You get sometimes some of these small teams that play each other, and
I'm
nobody
just.
cares. Nobody's
I'm
gonna
just.
watch an Olympiacos versus whatever team, you know.
Werder
Uh,
Bremen.
for,
Hey man, they did a what should we call it? West did a video on Olympiacos. He tried to go into, I guess it's called Section 8 or whatever, where they don't take cameras. They don't like cameras and stuff in there. It was pretty interesting. But anyway, yeah, I'm just saying, like, there. What are the? How's that stadium gonna look like? The perceptions of maybe. I'm just guessing 6,000 people.
Well, I mean, again, it's. I mean, how is it any different? Well, I mean,
It's
how is
not.
it going to be any different when they
It's
play
not.
just a regular league game?
Yeah, it's not. It's probably be less though. Like you take a Puebla versus Veracruz, that's still gonna get you some
Doesn't it
fans.
seem like Puebla and Veracruz play every week? I mean, isn't there always that one matchup in the game
There's
that's
always
like,
some. Well, we
don't they
talk
play
about
every week?
bum fight games all the time, right, Owen?
yeah, we do. We have the bum fights
What do we
match
got?
of the week.
What is the
The,
bum fight? Who is Chivas playing? Because that's probably usually the.
oh no,
Oh dang.
I'm
it,
sorry, Joel. I'm
No,
it'll
there
sorry.
be
is one
like
on Sunday.
it'll be like Juarez.
Juarez
It'll
and
be like
That was
Veracruz.
Juarez or
inappropriate.
Veracruz.
Juarez and Veracruz play
Uh,
on Sunday, man. That might be the one.
Sunday,
Isn't it
who
Juarez? Isn't it Juarez Veracruz?
Yeah, that might be the one for Veracruz to finally break the streak.
no, Juarez is the club formerly known as Lobos Buap.
Yeah, so that might be a chance for Veracruz to finally get a win. But yeah,
Yeah, Juarez
that's your bump
Veracruz.
fight.
Prime time Sunday night. It's going up against Sunday night football. Let's see what Sunday night football is on. So you're going to have your choice of watching Juarez Veracruz or the well the Rams or the Browns, which really isn't that much better. But yeah, that is your prime time Sunday matchup is Juarez Veracruz.
Well, it'd be interesting to see the ratings in Mexico though, between those two games. I assume the NFL is on in Mexico, or that Sunday night game would be on.
It is, but it's on cable though. So
Oh, okay, so they're
yeah, but you're right
disadvantaged.
though. It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the big game on Sunday, of course, is the one that you mentioned earlier, Chiquis. You know what's going to happen, Chiquis, after the end of the game on Sunday?
Uh,
It's gonna be glorious because we're gonna hear a lot of this.
No lo merecemos, este equipo no lo merecen como afición, porque les falta actitud, les falta partirse la madre.
It is a Lady Cemento after Cruz Azul.
yeah, they're gonna have a temporary high, a few days of a high, and then they can go back to their normal selves.
So actually, the another big game of the week is going to be America playing Querétaro
Oh,
and Necaxa playing León. So there are
there's,
some top
yeah.
matchups.
Necaxa has been the surprise team of the one of them.
Yeah, they
But
are.
yeah,
They lost their big goal scorer, who's now scoring goals for Portland Timbers. Who
El
they did
Brian.
they did a transfer in the middle of the season. Outside of the transfer window, he's just gone. Adios. I don't know how that works out. But yeah, but he is he's gone. But it doesn't matter. Necaxa's tied for first place. Have it on goal differential by one goal over everyone's pick for second place this year. The Querétaro, the Gallos Blancos, the big white cocks, the fighting white cocks. of Querétaro, and then Santos, América, León, Tigres, Atlético San Luis, who again out of nowhere are now in the playoffs only points. And Morelia, Pumas, Atlas. So Monterrey
with
is
Matosas.
with Matosas. That's right.
Yes.
Monterrey is with 12, and then Guadalajara has 11. Guadalajara, Cruz Azul, and Tijuana are all tied at 11. It sounds terrible. They have 11 points. They're only 2 points out of the playoff zone. So once again, we're still at the point in a Liga MX season where if you go on a 3-game win streak, you can go from 14th to third.
Well, San Luis made a huge jump out of just one win, though. So I haven't looked at it in depth, but
We should keep. We should also note that because of the 19 teams, a lot of teams haven't played. There's like some teams have one more game than the other.
That is true. That is true. That it is an imbalanced schedule. And so out of the in the top, like I said, 3 teams that are tied, Necaxa has actually played one more game than Querétaro or Santos, who both have 17 points, and that is a very good point, Joel. So it's and I'm not even sure. I was trying to figure out when Pumas has their bye week because I don't know if it's like a fecha FIFA or a bye week, but I know it's going to be coming up soon for them.
Yeah, and well, we see what happens with Toluca. People are expecting El Bigotón La Volpe to be sacked. He had a defeat against Morelia. I believe they lost at home. Which
They
would have
did.
made
They
it
lost at
worse.
home, yeah. Which how he hasn't been fired, frankly, is just shocking.
Well, you know who was made GM at Toluca?
Uh-oh. Who is it, Joel?
Ciña.
Ciña, that's right. It was Ciña.
And Ciña is the guy that La Volpe took to the World Cup. He has that.
And
I
scored a
guess
goal.
he owes him one. Huh?
And scored a goal.
Did he score a goal?
He did. He scored a nice header against Iran in the 3-1 win.
And I was at the stadium, and I don't remember that, John.
You don't remember that?
I remember he
You,
did the
you were
three
probably
cambios
you're
at the
probably
start.
euphoric with Omar Bravo's brace at the time.
Wait, did he do the three cambios before the start of the second half? I know he did them all at the same time.
I can't remember if he did it in that game or not.
No, it was they started losing, and then he made the three. He
Oh, no,
went
that was against
bold.
Portugal. That was against Portugal.
No, he did against Iran too.
Did he? Because they never were losing. They were just tied, but they were never losing.
John, I have to check. Let me ask Google. Siri. No, wait, this is Bixby. Let me check. My mind lies to me a lot now. I've gotten older. It rewrites history, John.
It
Forget.
happens.
I remember
I
things way different than they were.
I have a drop for that. Hold on, see if I can find it. It's right here. Let's see.
El América es una mierda.
I keep hitting that wrong button. I thought that was it. Made a mistake.
I'm just looking at.
Please go ahead and look that up, Joel.
I'm looking at some stats.
Yeah, you're right. Bravo scored in the 28th, and then Iran tied it in the 36th, and then Bravo scored again in the 76th, and Ciña in the 79th. But I remember the cambios. It doesn't say what time they made him though. I remember seeing him doing three cambios at the same time.
Well, regardless, his time at Toluca is tenuous at best. They are in 18th place right now. So if it wasn't for Veracruz, Toluca would be in dead last place. And they have Atlas next away. So Atlas can. Now, Joel, the last time Alexis Vega scored, against Atlas. He scored a hat trick, and Atlas never recovered,
Yeah.
which we correctly and well, frankly, there's not much research you have to do to look at Atlas and see when they lose 3-0 like that to their biggest rival. Chances are pretty high that they're gonna not come back from that. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. They lost 1-0 this week to Guadalajara, but they were humiliated by a goal celebration where we saw a little
Oh,
too much of Alexis Vega. So my question to you is, Joel, is my rhetorical question is will Atlas be able to recover from seeing
maybe,
Alexis Vega's hindquarters?
and I'm gonna go back to what we were talking about when we opened the show about how these clubs have, different ownerships or like multiple ownerships. And this is Atlas right now with TV Azteca maintaining a stake and as well as Grupo Orlegui managing it. And I'm pretty sure that some of the old socios still own some of that, a piece of that pie. Uh, so who knows, man? I've seen them kind of bounce back. This is a new Atlas, John, under Orlegui. So
Really, a
I don't
new
know.
Atlas.
Yeah, man. I do think that uh, they're being pretty smart about this. They're not, you know. I think they know it's one of those long term things. And if Atlas has, or at least Atlas fans have shown anything, is that they're very patient.
True.
So I do think that uh, it will
Now,
pay
Joel,
off for them.
I'm going to ask you a very pointed and potentially painful question. What is going to come first? Is Barra 51 going to have to change their name, or are we going to see the Chivas Comet?
Oh, Chivas coming for sure, man. You're getting that.
So there's still no doubt about that.
Well, I mean, the 200 million, that's, whew, that's a nice chunk of change. I mean, and
Right.
they already got some talented players there in the squad. You get two or three more, and that's all you need to be a
Ricardo
contender.
Peláez.
If
Ricardo
they
Peláez comes in.
well, if they could get him, and I remember they still own JJ Mack. Uh, so even if he doesn't come to the club, he should net anywhere around 15 million. So that's something right there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I do think that for the 2020, and I predicted this way back, gentlemen, I did say we'll see the Comet 2020. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff in favor for Chivas, not just with players, but also having money to, just to maintain a good competitive squad. Ah, yes. Yeah, no, but I do
So
think Atlas will win something eventually. They're just going to have to start low. Give them a Copa MX,
the
maybe
League's
a
Cup.
League's Cup or a Conca Chafa or something. But they'll get there if they let Grupo Orlegui do the. It's it's pretty basic what they do. It's not they didn't really reinvent the wheel.
Yeah,
You
how
know.
sad is that? They're just applying just like basic rudimentary,
Yeah. Yeah.
fundamental building blocks of putting a club together. Like, oh my God, they're revolutionizing Mexican soccer. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. No, with Santos, we see what they're doing, and it's very impressive. And obviously they're working with youth, and I think that was a big draw for getting Atlas, just because you have that market in Guadalajara and you have access to, all this big population. So I do think that's something that ultimately they want to do is start selling players, especially now that
You
we're
know,
beginning to see Mexicans going abroad for decent money. Uh, those of you that are old as us will remember when European teams will come and be like, "Oh, Palencia," seleccionado, one of the best in the league. Can we get him on loan with 50% off in wages? And both, and then they would always send them back at the end of the season. All right, well, we can't afford him. There's a cheaper South American who's younger and just as good, if not
Right.
better. And that was the case a lot of times. You you had these, like even Borghetti going to he was on loan, wasn't he, when he went to EPL? Um,
I always thought that he had gone on a permanent transfer.
well, he didn't stay there that long. But it was always like all these pretty bad deals. With a lot of times the clubs would do it just because they wanted to help out the player. The clubs would
You know,
take a
Borghetti
loss.
to me, we always talk about Joel, the situation of, does the coach like me or not? How can a player like a coach not see what they have in a player like Borghetti, who is just,
Well, it was
you know,
Big Sam.
I know, he's a heading machine, just one of the world's great headers of the ball, and you can't figure out to use him because what was the excuse? He's not good defensively. Oh my God,
Yeah,
seriously,
well,
dude.
yeah, no, that was just some BS. And I even heard they didn't even know that Borghetti had an EU passport because he had his
Right.
grandfather's Italian, so he had a Italian passport, and I think they didn't even know that. So it just goes to show how much they. But like even like how does a Cuauhtemoc, you know, one of the greatest players ever from Liga MX and the national team, and he was on loan to Valladolid, and then
Yeah, a
Valladolid of all
second-rate La
teams.
Liga team.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't even play him.
and so I mean, like seriously, that just shows how much things have changed now. Where like a Linus who's up and coming, and he goes to a better club and he's bought for like a good fee. So it's definitely things have changed. So I do think we should be seeing more players going abroad, and I think the Orlegis they figured that out too. Well, the
Well, I
Grupo
think
Pachuca kind of showed it, huh?
the big thing is that there have been, there's been at least since Rafa went over, there hasn't been that many, but there's been Mexicans that have consistently had very decent long careers. Rafa had a nice 10-year run in Europe. Guardado is in the midst of like a 13, 14-year run. Chicharo's in his 10th year. And that I mean, outside of Hugo, who else has had a career that long playing in Europe that was Mexican?
Well,
Exactly.
Ache, he's kind of getting there.
Well, he's been there for 5 years. So I mean, so yeah, so the Mexican player is becoming more marketable in Europe, and
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. But again, I think that Liga MX is good enough to where if you get a call to play in Europe, don't make sure you're going somewhere that's going to be a spot where you can be challenged more.
Well, and then some of the players that left because they wanted to. So Ochoa could have stayed in Belgium. He chose to. Same with Jonah, could have
Yeah,
stayed
but
in La
even
Liga.
if he did, he still played there for 8 years. I mean, it wasn't like he was just had a cup of coffee. I mean, he had a pretty decent length career as well.
Yeah, it's been improving. The average stay for Mexicans going abroad was about 2 years,
Right. I'm
and
surprised it was that high, to be honest.
well, yeah, well, it's just 2 seasons. So one season in the team, and then the second season, they loan you out to some other team. At which point, midway through that season, you already knew he had already signed a contract to be back in Liga MX. Um, but yeah, we've seen that improvement. So yeah, I do think That's going to be one of the goals for the Grupo Orlegui to try to start selling abroad.
Chiquis, did Memo Ochoa gift Pumas a draw last week?
No, that wasn't his fault. There was I don't know if there's a deflection, but that was a pretty hard shot, and there's nothing he could do.
Okay, because I mean, I only
It went
saw
between
the
his legs, I
play
think,
like on
right?
my phone. Well, it just went right by him. I think that either he just didn't see like there was something was obstructing his view, or like I said, there was deflection. Yeah, but it just like went right by him. Like all he had to do was just just stick his hand in the way, and it would have. But for whatever reason, thankfully for Pumas fan, it didn't happen. So of course there are folks that are starting to wonder about his abilities, and as he passes prime and blah. But I think he will.
No, I think it's just
I think he'll be okay.
yeah.
Just one of those things that just happened.
His
I was
team.
just curious if it was really his fault or not, but it sounds like it was. That he wasn't necessarily as much his fault as people are making it out to be.
Well, he has had his instances of insecurity. It might be that again, but I think it's also like the team. The team as a whole is not doing its very best, I would say. So they're sort of
I think well,
struggling.
America should be back. They had a lot of players injured, and then those players have started coming. Giovanni was back, and he had a really good game against Pumas. I did see that. I think that America's struggling. They're 1 point out of first place. I wish Pumas could struggle like that. I'm sure Joel would love to see Chivas struggle like that. So
Someday, John. Someday.
yeah, exactly. Instead of struggling at the other end of the table in relegation, which is where they've been like for is it like 6 out of the last 8 years, Joel, the Chivas has been having to deal with relegation? That's a long time.
Yeah, they've been stuck there for a long time. Since
Even with the Chivas Comet sighting, it really hasn't helped.
Since like 2014, maybe.
Oof, that's a lot of Alka-Seltzer for the
Yeah.
Chivermanos.
You need at least like 3 good years. 3 good years to leave the bottom of the laughable relegation chart.
I am not gonna lie. When Pumas was it 2 years ago, Chiquis, where they had like that one season where they only like collected 13 points. I was really worried about
Oh yeah.
About the descenso. Really worried because I mean that stays with you for 3 years after you do it. So it's just and it's one thing to have 18, 19, but to have 13 points, I mean that is really 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 rough. But
John, but
yeah.
who now takes who takes relegation serious now?
No, you're absolutely right. It is Nashville just paid what is it, $150 million or whatever it is to have their franchise fee, so they could have their MLS franchise, and Veracruz pays $6 million to avoid relegation.
Well, and it's going up, right? For MLS teams, it's at what, 100 million or 120,
It's whatever it is. It's a big chunk of money.
and it's gonna go up because they're
I'm
looking
sure.
at what is it, 2 more teams, I guess, that they want to bring into the fold. But yeah, that compared to 6 million, we don't even know what Jaguares. I keep saying Jaguares. I mean Juarez. I wonder how much they paid Lobos Bua
to have the team in Juarez. Yeah, I don't know.
for that franchise. They probably just a box of Corona Familiar. They threw them in asado and I don't know,
Couple of barriles de pulque.
some tickets to.
I've never had pulque. Have you ever had pulque, Joel?
No, I turned it down. I was it's being very gringo of me. But I was with my uncle. We were in Mex. We were on the road, and it was like a stand, and it was almost like in the middle of nowhere. They had a pulque stand, and I was like, "There's no way I'm
Pass.
drinking that."
Pass on that.
Man. Pass, hard pass. But you know that's because of here. A friend of mine, well, it was a friend of the family. He had eaten from he had eaten from one of those trucks. This was before you got those fancy hipster trucks. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Sell the organic food and whatnot. This was the old school dangerous Mexi trucks. Where
The
you,
ones at the construction site.
yeah, the ones you literally gambled your life. And that's what happened to a friend of ours twice. Well, to two friends. One of them ate pork and he had worms and they went to his brain.
Oh God, that
Yeah.
that sounds awful, and that's a Pink Floyd lyric, by the way. Just
But you know, he went to the hospital and I'm not exactly sure how they got rid of him, but
yeah.
that's
And would they start
scary, man.
they start coming out of your ears?
The
What's
thought
coming
of
out of your ears, dude?
you know the thought of just you know I'm gonna have a burrito and then it could that could be the end result just scared me. And then the second one was another friend of ours. Then he ate shrimps and again from a truck and he had like what was it
Was this in Mexico?
hepatitis. No, it was here in the U.S. So I'm like this is happening here. I'm just scared of anything that's just out in the street, you know.
Patileche y galletas para todos.
That's
Nos
all I
vayas a
do.
Baticueva.
That's all I do in
That's
Mexico, man.
always sanitary Baticueva. Huh?
In Mexico, that's all the place I go is on the street.
It's on the street.
Yeah.
Get your drink in a bolsita
Yeah,
with a
like
straw tied with a rubber band.
anyone,
Um,
some people try to take me to Tox, which is like a nice fancy restaurant. I'm like, okay, whatever.
no, I mean it's changed, but I mean I was a kid when that happened, and it scared the bejesus out of me. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
kept me from those trucks for a long time. But eventually I went back.
You gotta
I
make
went
sure
When
that
I
back
stuff's
first
cooked.
to get that chorro chiflador. What happened, John?
when I first graduated from college, my first job I had was working at MCI. I was on the phones, and there used to be for our first break, there was always a truck outside, and man, they had the best carne guisada tacos I've ever had in my life. I don't know what they did to them, but man, they were good. I think I would on my days off. I would go to that taco truck for breakfast.
The cook did not wash his hands. That was a secret ingredient, John.
Yeah, I'm sure. Time to make the donuts. Yeah, I would go there on my days off to eat those, and I would tell my housemates, "You've got to try these tacos. These tacos are unbelievable." They wouldn't believe me. I'd bring up a big stack of them, and they're like, "Oh, these are just incredible." That was just right in the first stages of the breakfast taco revolution that seemed to have
Oh, I
happened
still
here.
need to try one. I still need to try one, John. I haven't.
Well, Joel, I can make
It's
it
because
very.
I'm not a morning person. Huh?
Oh, okay. I want to say it's very easy, but just make huevos con chorizo, heat up some beans, throw it in a tortilla, put some cheese on top and some salsa. You have
Oh,
a breakfast taco.
the cheese was the missing ingredient.
Well, you don't have to have the cheese, but it certainly helps. What is your
What
breakfast
type?
taco?
Like what type of cheese though?
Well, I don't know if I should say, on the air. I want to have a reputation. But no, I use just like shredded yellow cheese, whatever it is, cheddar. I don't have to use queso cotija or
None of that stuff.
although we can get that stuff here, like the Mexican manchego cheese and
Oh,
stuff. I mean,
well,
that works.
I would eat it with queso fresco.
Queso fresco, that stuff's good.
Queso fresco would be weird at eggs, don't you think? That would be
No.
a little
With the
strange.
chorizo?
Yeah, no, with the egg.
Oh,
It'll be alright.
Maybe
I
not.
don't know.
all.
I think I do that every now
I'll
and then.
try it tomorrow. Yeah. What's your breakfast taco of choice, Chiquis? When you gotta have one.
Cheeks
Breakfast
just
taco?
continental breakfast for him.
Well, breakfast taco is like a gringo
Yes.
thing. I like potato, man. Or actually, in Lockhart, I had a brisket with, I think, brisket, egg, and potato. That stuff looked pretty good.
Cheeks calls a taco a gringo thing. Then he goes on to his name briskets.
Well,
and
it's gringo,
He
man.
wants crumpets and tea.
Well, see, I used to think that
Brisket's
until I
Texas, man.
tried.
Brisket's
Quite
Texas.
quite tiring.
until I watched the Taco Chronicles on Netflix. It has opened my eyes about the different kinds of tacos that are available. So I mean, like, you can make anything into a taco.
Yeah.
So no, that does sound good. Though. I'm not a fan of the barbecue flavored
Taco.
breakfast tacos. Like
Yeah.
if I have sausage in my taco, I would like do country sausage over like barbecue sausage. Just a personal choice.
Uh-huh.
But they're still delicious either way. I mean, they're still and a brisket potato just sounds incredible. Good lord, that just sounds like a good meal, much
Yeah.
less a breakfast taco.
Yeah. This,
Chiquis is getting paid on time.
there's a
It
place in
seems.
there's a place in
His
Lockhart that
like chronicle checks are clearing.
yeah, a place in Lockhart that sells some good tacos, man. Drive through barbecue place. It's pretty good.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Lockhart, Texas, which is about like maybe 20 miles southeast of Austin, is the barbecue capital of the planet. Places has 5 just unbelievably good barbecue joints, as good as there are anywhere in the country. And it's so weird that they're in this tiny little town in and but again, just a little southeast of Austin. And it's funny, Chicas, because you could ask any person who has been and had Lockhart barbecue, and they say, "What's your favorite restaurant?" And each one will tell you something different.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a Kreuz's guy, but there's like what Chisholm Trail and Blacks and Smitty's, and they're all amazing. They're all really good.
You guys are making me hungry, and it's
Chisholm Trail
already
is the place I went to.
kind of late.
Is that your barbecue place of choice in Lockhart?
Yeah, recently. That's been the place to go. Black said that was the first place, and then I think I went to the other ones, Smitty's and Kreutz, and then Chisholm Trail has been the place as of late.
The place that has won your heart.
Yeah. You got to
No,
drive
so
through. So.
for you folks that want to, if you enjoy Texas barbecue and you want to have a little excursion, that is where I recommend you go. Is just outside of town in Lockhart, Texas. Well, gentlemen, I think that I don't know that y'all have any other topics. Oh, we need to talk about Chicharito before we
Wait,
wrap it up here. Oh,
well,
wait. Yeah, yes, hold. Yes,
there
hold.
is one that's Chelis. So Max Camote is not the only one that hang his boots. Chelis as well has called it quits.
So we're not going to see him come coach Puebla again.
Who knows? Who knows? If 80s WWF wrestling taught me anything, it's not to take these retirements too serious. But he did.
So
He
that's
what
unfortunate.
happened?
So why was it that Chelis could not get a gig outside of Puebla? Like why wouldn't like Chivas ever hire him?
Chivas, huh? I because I think MLS, Liga MX is still very tight. The promoters are still very influential, and I think they still play a big role in who
Well,
gets
he
what.
is he's in bed with the biggest promoter.
Is he now?
Yeah.
Well, then I don't. Maybe he just got tired of it.
Well, he's really good on TV, so I'm sure that we'll be seeing him on TV moving forward. But I do tip my hat to Chelis. He was definitely a nice breath of oxygen
Entertaining guy.
in the league.
Yeah, I got a
That
quick.
was
Chicharito. Oh, go ahead, Chiquis.
Before the real quick stat before the Chicharito. Necaxa has they're in first place, of course, but they have 3 guys in the top 10 in the goal scoring
oh,
table.
do
One of
tell,
them,
Chiquis, do
one of
tell.
well, Maxi Salas. He's got 6 goals, one under Julio Furch, and then this another Argentinian Mario Quiroga, and a Mexican is even up there, Jesus Angulo. So it's sort of due to that 7-0 win over I think it was Veracruz. So that sort of helped them. But yeah, they have some goal scorers sort of to look out for. Let's see if they can maintain.
They also have a really good coach in Memo Vasquez, who we've seen him take Pumas to finals and win titles. He took Cruz Azul. Should have won the uh, the title with Cruz Azul against America before the autogol that kind of sunk him there at the end, which for some reason was credited to Moises Munoz. And now he's got Necaxa playing well, so
I,
he's a
I
good coach.
forgot. I forgot Munoz was still playing.
No, I know Munoz is still playing, but Memo Vasquez is still coaching it, and he's doing very well, and has proven over time that he's an above average coach in Liga MX and has done very well for himself in the league and has another team playing well, so it shouldn't be a surprise. Now, who was it that this week that said that the Mexican coach is still like very undervalued in Mexico?
Oh, that's right. I I read it and I forgot.
Was that like when they had the De La Torres and I think it was La Puente on the TUDN on the TUDN shows? Is that where that came out?
I honestly can't remember, but I did. Profe Cambia shared that news, and I was like, I agree, but I don't remember who said it.
Yeah. So has Pumas played Necaxa yet?
Yes.
They did, and of course Pumas defeated Necaxa, so that proves once again that Pumas is the best team in the league. We're just,
They just don't know it yet.
That's right. We're just hanging back. We're just hanging back. We don't want to peak too early. We want to get into the league playing
I
playing
do
strong.
think there's going to be one hellacious battle for that seventh and eighth place. You can see it. It's going to become, especially with some of these unexpected teams like Santos, Necaxa, and a few others that they weren't expected to do so good. All of a sudden, they're having really good seasons, and then you have a team like Monterrey. Monterrey could fall back, but they could bounce back at any time. They do have, they're pound for pound one of the best teams. And
Here are the teams, Joel, that are between 6 and 14, and only 3 points separate 6 and 14. So there's Tigres, there's San Luis, Morelia, Pumas, Atlas, Monterrey, Guadalajara, Cruz Azul, and Tijuana. So out of those 8 teams, only 3 are going to make the play. Are going to make the Liguilla.
yeah, that's wow.
And of course, that's that is the teams above them don't like have a calamitous
and
collapse, which
and
could
and
happen.
that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we're not getting rid of. We're not going back to the long season. Uh, but I'm disappointed in Chiquis because he brought it up, and here at the Cantina, we figured it out.
Wait, what was the reason? I didn't catch that. What was
You were talking about Liga MX. They should uh, doing the long season again.
Yeah,
We brought that up
what was the reason that they won't go to long season again?
because of like TV rating. When you have that fight to make liguilla, and then liguilla, there's a huge spike in ratings.
Well, yeah, exactly. And again, remember that the owners of the league also own the TV signal. So, and it's not just Televisa and Azteca. I mean, you have Imagen in there. There's
Yeah,
Claros. I mean, it is unfortunate, but that's just
yeah,
that is Liga MX. So yeah, you're right, Joel. The two seasons are just not ever going to go away.
yeah. And if Chiquis would listen to the Cantina pod, he would know we figured it out, Chiquis.
Well, I agree,
We
but I would.
figured it out, John.
I
John
agree.
and I figured out
I
what
agree.
what will make it more competitive, and it's cut the number of teams that qualify.
I agree.
Yep.
I was just going off of the Enrique Bonilla quote about the only way to get into Libertadores wouldn't be modifying the schedule. But yeah, I agree with you. The excitement of Liguilla, the excitement of getting into it is
Yeah,
beneficial.
that's just become the culture of when you talk about like football culture, and that's just it for Mexico. That's and you might like it or not, but it's our own. You could say it. It's more very gringo because that's where the idea for playoffs came from. But that's become the Mexican food. That's what the fans like. You know.
Well, and the funny thing about it is that we can trash it all we want, the Liguilla, but our show even spike when the Liguilla happens because those are the games that are going to be most interesting to people. So they seem to know what they're doing when they have the Liguilla. I know it's I feel bad for a team like LAFC who has in any other league would have clinched the league title with weeks to go in MLS. They've already clinched the Western Conference, so they're going to be the top seed in the Western Conference. There's like 6 weeks or whatever it is left of the season, so they're going to have nothing to play for, and then they're gonna play a single elimination game or whatever it is, and they could get bounced like that
Yeah.
after.
But at least I think they qualified now. They're gonna be in the next
They're going to be the
CONCACAF,
Conca champions. Yeah, that's going to be
and
interesting.
that's yeah, that will be. It's gonna give a lot to talk about, especially if Vela continues to Vela, um, and then if they do bring another player, they were talking about. I can't pronounce his name, Mandzukic.
Mandzukic,
Oh,
Pisca.
Mandzukic coming into LA Galaxy.
Oh,
Oh, to the Galaxy, but the LAFC was the one that were pushing for him.
you got to watch out also for Miami. When is Miami gonna um, be in the mix? Because if something's impressive in Miami, Vela might, jump the bandwagon and leave LAFC.
What you saying? Vela will go to?
Yeah, that's his.
What are
That's
you
his.
talking about, Chicky? What?
Vela
What?
would Vela would go to. Vela likes Miami. He likes the. I don't know what he
Does
likes.
he?
The NBA over there, the weather, maybe the clubs and
But
stuff.
but LeBron is in LA. What is
I don't know. Maybe they'll
the
trade
Heat?
LeBron.
Nobody cares about the Heat no more. Chickies, what are you talking about?
Well, Miami's got
Can
more
have
stuff
better
than LA.
weather, man. Come on.
Miami's got better stuff, more stuff
Yeah,
than
it's a little
just
too humid in Miami. I mean, give me the choice in Miami and LA. I'd probably choose LA just because
dude.
it's not
Miami
95
Vice.
with 95% humidity.
Chickies, he's a 2 hour flight. What is it? 2 hour flight to
Dude,
Guadalajara
these are
from
his
LA.
words, man. These are his words. I'm just
Boy,
repeating what
then
he's.
again, he's not in Oaxaca. His family's from
Cancun.
Acapulco, so that's what 4 hours maybe,
They're from
Man, he don't
Cancun.
want
give
to
or
go to
take.
Mexico. He don't want to go back to Mexico ever again. Hey,
No, but
I'm
to
just.
visit his family.
I'm just.
He wants to
No,
go
you don't even
visit
want to do
the.
that, man.
Can you bring him over here?
he. I'm
He's
just.
good at Brentwood,
I'm
man.
just repeating his words,
He's
man.
got the Vela
He's
clan in Brentwood.
he said Miami is the place. He said in the podcast.
No,
I'm
no,
just
he
repeating
said
what
you,
I'm
man.
just repeating what he said, man.
It's not a surprise. I mean, Miami, like I mentioned before, it is the capital of soccer players. That's where they want to hang out. I mean, not just right
Nightlife,
out.
right?
I mean, all the European soccer players, the South American, that is where they think it's like the coolest place on the planet.
Yeah, isn't that
They
where
love it.
Ronaldo hit on Paris Hilton or something? Or that
No,
might have
that
been
was here in LA.
yeah, that might have been LA.
That was
Yeah.
here in LA,
Yeah,
Chickies.
never
Come on.
mind. My bad.
You,
Yeah, you're the
next
expert
thing,
on
next
that
thing you're
stuff.
gonna tell me that that Chicharo wants to go to Miami.
Oh, he does. He probably does, man.
Chicharito scored a great goal today on a free kick, and you have to really rack your brain to think. Well, first of all, the first thought is, wow, really on a free kick. But he's taken free kicks, but he scored free kick goals with Chivas, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? Like before he went on his little hot streak, before he went to Manchester United.
I
We're
can't remember, but I
struggling.
know he would take shots from outside the box, which I remember. This is like how gullible a lot of fans are because I remember him scoring a goal when he was in Real Madrid, or was it after? But he did it from outside the box, and they were saying how he must have learned that in Madrid.
Right.
Like sure, like all that
Because he
stuff.
had no idea how to shoot before. Right.
Yeah, like he never scored. There's all these goals he did like that in Chivas, but those don't count.
It seems sort of like a trick play, man. Because he was lined up. The other guy was lined up as well. And then, I mean, if you know Chicharito, you're not like we can't even think of the last time he scored off of a set piece like that. Um, but he took it, and the goalkeeper wasn't. I mean, he was relying on the wall, but
Well, I think usually
it wasn't on the angle. You
I,
know, it
I
wasn't too hard of a.
I think their usual free kick taker wasn't playing or wasn't available.
Oh,
Yeah, it was an amazing kick. I mean, he was able to kick it because the guy he kicked it over the guy who was jumping, and it dipped down underneath the bar enough, but still above the goalie's hand. I mean, it's impressive. It was, and he has shown a long distance shot before, and
he's got good
I
form.
think what sure, and I think what people don't may not understand about Chicharito, especially when he was at Manchester United, is that his coach told him that his and Chicharito has said this many times. He said, Sir Alex, he wanted me inside the 6 yard box. He said that
Yeah,
is
I want
where I want you to end
playing
up
him
at
as a
every play.
poacher
Yeah.
because he wasn't like that in Chivas.
So he wanted him to crash the box every time they went down. That was where Chicharito was. That's where Sir Alex wanted him. Obviously it worked because Chicharito uh, has had a very long and fruitful career in Europe. Although his last couple of years at West Ham were a little rough with injury and the fact that frankly West Ham was just terrible, and it just didn't work out. And then didn't they end up picking like the same awful coach, David Moyes, when Sir Alex retired at Manchester United? He kind of banished Chicharito, so he had that happen to him. So it just wasn't a good fit. But we'll see how it happens, how it turns out for him in Sevilla. But I do insist that when Chicharito comes back, he's not going to come back and play. He's going to come back and do TV, and he's going to do TV in the States
In English?
in English.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening, Yon.
I guess I could
But it was
also.
a very nice goal for him. It was a very nice goal for him, and hopefully that'll get him going in his latest journey at Sevilla. And frankly, it's as far as national team players who played in the European competitions this week, they actually had a pretty decent run of things with Lozano playing well for Napoli, and I think Edson Alvarez scored a goal
Ache
for Ajax.
scored a goal,
Yeah,
tied up
yeah.
the
He
game.
finally he made his debut. He made his debut, and saved the coach's butt with the equalizer. Was it against Juventus? And so I think we'll start seeing more of Ache play. So it was definitely a strong week for Mexican players in the European competition. So good on them. And this is where you want to see the players. You want to see. Obviously, it'd be nice to have 20 players in the Champions League, but there's what, 4 in the Champions League this time around, so it's not too
Do,
bad.
do you gents remember the first Mexican to play Champions League?
First Mexican to play Champions League,
Yes.
like proper champ, like this the Champions League after '92, or like the European champions, like the
No, I do think it was after '92. Yeah,
first
pretty
Mexican.
sure. He
So
he played at Galatasaray. He went on loan, obviously.
Eddie.
He was from Necaxa.
I'm gonna say Beto
A
Garcia.
defender. I think it's El Cuchillo Herrera.
Oof, I would have never have guessed that.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, it was. I think that's he. Yeah, I think that's or El Picas Becerril. Ese del Cuchillo.
Was it El Tilón Chávez?
Hmm? No, not Tilon. Um,
Joel, I was gonna do the Joel Aceves Las Vegas tour yesterday,
Oh,
but I didn't have the time or the money to pull it off correctly.
oh, so close.
So yeah, man, I was really disappointed because we were gonna have a lot of fun today. So just it didn't work out for us. So I had to.
Bummer.
And it's just seeing people at the airport in Las Vegas in the morning. It just cracks me up. People just look like just hammered. All of them they don't look good. You know, circles like the size of hubcaps under their eyes. Everyone just bleary eyed. It always cracks me up. Very funny.
Hey, on the chat, this guy says, Luisito says, that fool can't speak English. Referring to Chicharito. What'd you say, doing commentary or something? Analyst? And
No,
I thought he was talking about me.
no, no, I think he was talking about
I can't
Chicharito,
speak in
which is true
English.
because his vlogs that he does on YouTube, it's all in English, and that dude makes all
Well,
kinds of mistakes.
he has a couple years for that, and his wife who
Yeah,
that's right.
Australian.
he speaks pretty good, but there's errors here and there. But yeah,
No,
Well,
but I agree
he'll be
with
the
that guy.
Marcelo
If
Balboa,
you don't,
the Marcelo
if you
Balboa
can't
version.
speak it right though, it just I don't.
no offense to Mariano, but if
Oh, we lost you, John. I think, or I can't hear you.
What was the clip that's been making the rounds with Sutcliffe? He was doing NFL.
Oh yeah, he's interviewing a guy and he says the question in Spanish first and then in English, and the guy's looking at him
But
like.
there's these clips where people are doing voiceovers.
Oh yeah, I only listened to one, but I don't know where it's at. Yeah, I saw that too.
Sergio Almaguer. I was so wrong. I said it's Sergio Almaguer.
So he was the first guy.
Yeah, it was Sergio Almaguer that played Champions League.
Yeah, man. I think we lost John. Audio or something happened.
But I think technically, well, Mexican coming out of Mexico because Neri Castillo played Champions League at 16 years old. And so he was on loan in 2002. Castillo must have been around the same time and played it with Olympiacos. Yeah, but it was Sergio Almaguer. I remember that. I didn't get to see the games though. Yeah, Cheech. Well, he have enough time. He's gonna have to improve his English if he's gonna do
He's
English
okay.
commentary.
I'm gonna start keeping up with his vlog now.
Naked people? What is it called?
Yeah, naked humans.
Okay, naked. Yeah.
I had to show my. I won't talk about it on the pod, but at the end, his wife talks a little bit, and I had to show that to my wife. It was sort of interesting.
Like, why you mention it and then you say you can't talk about it?
It's about
what kind of BS is that, man?
It's about postpartum depression. She's having a tough time.
That's like saying just a tip.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you then. She's having postpartum depression. Because check this out. Like this is sort of going back to. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about all the scandal and stuff, but she was going to go to New York with Chicharito for the national team game. But with the Sevilla move, she stayed with the baby to get everything ready for the move. And so she's like full time taking care of the baby, worried about moving, and then Chicharito's off doing his thing, whether it's true or not. partying with girls.
You mean not partying
Yeah, and then
with the escorts?
with the sc- yeah, so and then she's like all by herself, and then at the end of the video, their latest vlog, she was talking about how she's sort of depressed and she wants to find a nanny to have time for, to be herself, she says, to go out and be by herself and not all the time with the baby. She's breastfeeding the baby, and and a lot of people go through that, but just thought it was interesting. But yeah, so
I've never seen his vlogs.
yeah, just look up Naked Humans. It's pretty much because he lives with a crew. Like he lives with the bald-headed guy, which I guess is he's a motivational speaker in Mexico. But he hangs out with
He lives
him.
with what?
You know the bald guy that well, you haven't seen it. So he hangs out with some guy. I think it's David, who's a bald guy. He
So
hangs.
that's where the cosas chingonas come from.
Yeah, they talk amongst themselves and they make up all that stuff. So it's like him, Chicharito, these two other dudes, and his wife live all together.
It's like a frat house.
Yeah, so they're like their group, man. It's like his crew. Like you know how Pulido has his rap crew. Chicharito has his crew. One
His
guy's
squad.
his squad.
Chicharo squad.
Yeah, it's a
Why you
motivational
want a
speaker.
bunch of dudes living in your house when you're married?
I don't know, man. They're really close. You know, there's rumors like,
I don't know,
well,
man. I don't know what's going on there with Chicharo.
yeah, but
Orange
they're like
hair
his
and
homies.
whatnot.
They like probably edit his videos, and all four of them um, have videos. Like if they're in, like for the national team games, Chicharito was in a different place. All four of them were in a different place, but they all four contributed to videos in the vlog, and they just put them all together, And so they're all four, like us, doing their own thing, but they're all living together. They're all depending on Chicharito, like the Sevilla move. They're always talking about, okay, we're moving to Sevilla. We got to see what Chicharito. We got to help him out with the move, and
It's like
find a
Billy
house.
Madison. Did you
Yeah,
ever see the movie Billy Madison? They're
yeah,
just hanging out by the pool all day.
that's what
He's
they
just
do, dude.
drunk.
That's what
They're
they do.
drunk. It was like, hey, do something. They're like, oh, we'll just make a vlog. Think the easiest you could do.
Yeah, I wonder if
Shit.
because they're all like the one guy was in Cancun, the other guy was in Guadalajara, uh, and then well, no, they were both in Cancun. Chicharito's in New York and San Antonio, and his wife went to Guadalajara real quick. And I was wondering, like, hey man, Chicharito, if those guys are like, hey, Javi, can you send me some money so I can get this hotel room? Like, give me some money. I need to buy some stuff. No,
Damn.
I'm not, because the guy's a
I
motivational
should be
speaker.
friends with Chicharo.
Yeah, like if you get in with
Hey,
somebody,
Walter Bazar. Is Walter Bazar.
get in it, man. Just go around having
Walter
fun.
Bazar was the motivational speaker from Club de Cuervos.
Oh, yeah, I don't watch that, so. No, they showed a video of him. He went to the Grutas in Cancun or somewhere over there, and there's like a hidden spot where people go and they like listen to him speak. He's like a motivational speaker, and they were like all laying down on the beach or on the area, like
Sounds
listening.
like some hippie stuff.
Yeah, it was weird, man. But yeah, that's one of his. That's the bald guy. Check it out, man. It's sort of interesting, sort of funny. Anyway, anything else you got before we head on?
Nope.
All right.
Nope. Just the upcoming games are going to be pretty interesting. Just cause a couple coaches have their jobs on the line. La Volpe, the guy from Monterrey, and those are the two main ones. We'll see what happens.
All right. Next week I'll be in San Jose, so I'm gonna try to go to the Earthquakes.
You're going to the match?
I'm gonna try
Wait,
to.
you're gonna try, or are you going?
I sent emails, but they haven't responded to me. Jaime is gonna be there, as a
He got
photographer.
his response right away, dude.
Yeah, I think I got the
Because you
bad.
wanna just
I think I got the bad rep. I might be outside
they
the
gave you
stadium
the
just
cold shoulder.
Yeah, I'll probably be out the stadium just taking videos with fans and stuff. So I'll probably try to be there.
You're like the dude with the cup, that meme. The guy that has this holding the cup.
Begging?
Huh?
Begging for limosna or something?
Yeah.
It's messed
I
up.
think asking for the press pass.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to try doing that. We'll see. All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it was good. Good stuff. Thanks to John for coming on, giving his perspective on the Leagues Cup, and thanks for listening. Thanks to Luisito from the chat and everyone else who listens to the podcast. And we'll see you guys next week after the games. We'll hopefully try to podcast and talk more about the results. Have a good evening.